So, can I pull anything out of the numerator of the first problem? An x, and I'm left with x squared minus x minus 20. Can I factor that any further? Yes, x times x minus 5 and x plus 4. Okay. In the bottom, what can I pull out? A 3x. What's left? X minus 5. Does anything cancel? X minus 5 cancels x minus 5. And x cancels x, so I'm left with x plus 4 over x. Or, sorry, 3. How did I ever graduate from college? Twice. 3 times, actually. Yeah, I have an associate's and a bachelor's and a master's. So, the other one is my license and an award I got for getting a high score on a national test of some sort. Anyway, you have to, in order to be a math teacher, you have to pass what's called the praxis. And every teacher has a praxis, and I scored in the top 15%, whatever. Anyway, I don't even remember much about it. So, okay. So I need to multiply those together, and I get 45x squared. What do I know about the signs? They're both negative, and if they're both negative, can you think of factors of 45 that add to be 18? 3 and 15. So negative 3 times negative 15. Now I rewrite, and instead of 18, I use those. So 5x squared minus 3x minus 15x plus 9. Jordan, are you okay with that? Where did you get confused? Do you understand the 45? Yes. Now we break 45 down and look for factors that add to be 18. Because it's this. So 1 and 45, 3 and 15, 5 and 9, and that's all of them. Does one of those sets give me a negative 18? Negative 3 and negative 15. So it's this set here if they're both negative. So now I just rewrite the whole problem, but instead of this number, I use these two numbers. So all we've done is rewritten the problem in a slightly different form. It still equals the same thing, but instead of 18, I did a negative 3 and a negative 15. So now I group. What does the first group share? An x. If I pull out an x, what's left? 5x minus 3. What does the second group share? They share a 3, but if I pull out a 3, what do I want this parenthesis to say? 5x minus 3. If I just pull out a 3, do I get a 5x and a negative 3? No, I get a negative 5x and a positive 3. So to change that, I'm going to pull out a negative, which will make this 5x minus 3. Okay? So my factors are x minus 3 and 5x minus 3. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Well, it wasn't doable otherwise. So, is that a difference of cubes? Now it is. So it's x to the third minus, what to the third is 27? 3 to the third. So then you can turn to page 21 in your textbook, and you can follow the pattern. And the pattern says, if you have a to the third minus b to the third, it's a minus b, so x minus 3. And then a squared, which is x squared, minus, or no, plus ab, so plus 3x, plus b squared, is plus 9. Will this factor again? Never. That will never factor again, except you might be able to pull out a 2 or something. But if that's the case, then you should have pulled out the 2 to begin with. So it doesn't actually simplify ever. So this cancels this. My answer is 5x minus 3 over x squared plus 3x plus 9. Okay? All right. We are going to go back to 5th grade, which I realize for some of you is actually going forward, but whatever. We're going to 5th grade. So in 5th grade, I assume it was 5th grade, you did this. By hand, using long division. Actually, let's do 72. How do we do long division? How many times does 4 go into 5? 1. Now what do I do? 1 times 4 is 4. Now what do I do? Wait. Subtract. Okay, each little step is important because we're going to be doing it today on a much bigger scale. So, 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the 7. Could I bring down the 2 also? Yeah, we're not going to, but whatever. So how many times does 4 go into 17? 4 times. Now what? 4 times 4 is 16. Draw the line. Change the sign. 17 minus 16 is 1. Bring down the 2. 4 times what is 12? 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Remainder 0. What does this tell me about the problem? That 572 is divisible by 4, or that 4 is a factor of 572. So if I had 572 over 4, it's the same thing as 4 times 143 over 4, and the 4's cancel, and I'm left with 143. Right? Okay. Let's make things a little bit harder. How many times does 5 go into 6? 1. 1 times 5 is 5. Draw the line, subtract. 6 minus 5 is 1. How many times does 5 go into 17? 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 2 with a 4. How many times does 5 go into 24? 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Draw the line, subtract. Now what? We could do decimals. Okay? Well, how else can you do it? You can say remainder 4. Okay? Do you remember back when we did synthetic division? And we said 134 plus the remainder divided by the divisor. So it went in 134 times and 4/5 of one time. So almost 135 times. It was one number short of 134. Okay? All right. Let's say we had x squared minus 6x minus 40 over x minus 10. We're going to work this problem 3 different ways, one of which will be new. So we can factor this into x minus 10 and x plus 4. So my answer is x plus 4. Okay? We could also use synthetic division. Do you remember that? Synthetic division, you look at the denominator. What is the root of the denominator? 10. Because what number makes this 0? 10. Okay? And now I put the coefficients up here. 1, -6, and -40. Okay? What do I do? Well, we bring down the 1. 10 times 1 is 10. Oh, Did I mess something up? No, that's right. Sorry. 4. Then 10 times 4 is 40. What does that tell me? Remainder 0 means it went in evenly, or it means that x minus 10 is a factor of this quadratic. So it went in evenly. Well, what is the answer? I started with an x squared, so I must end with an x plus 4, which is what we got there. Okay? Now, this is only useful if it's going to be a 0, right? So if I gave you this problem and I said simplify, I wouldn't use synthetic division. Because if it doesn't work, then you wasted all the time for nothing. Okay? If it says divide, and over here I got a remainder 6, then it would be x plus 4 plus 6 over x minus 10. Okay? So there's a difference between simplify and divide. Simplify means make it smaller if possible. Divide means tell me what it equals, whether or not it works, whether or not it's remainder 0. Okay, but synthetic division has a downfall. You can only do one root at a time. So what if it was x minus 10 and x minus 3? Well, you'd have to do this with 10, and then you'd have to do it again with positive 3. Well, if the 10 doesn't work, then you're going to have a remainder, which is really hard to deal with. Okay. Also, if instead of x minus 10 it was x squared minus 10, synthetic division won't work. Synthetic division will only work if it's x to the first. If it's more than x to the first, you have to do what we call long division of polynomials. Okay. So, x minus 10 goes into x squared minus 6x minus 40. This is almost exactly the same as the long division that we just did. Okay? It's not as fast as synthetic division, but synthetic division it's not always possible to use it. So, this is really tricky. How many times does x go into x squared? No. What does it mean to divide? If I said how many times does 2 go into 10? 5. So what you're saying is 2 times 5 is 10. What times x is x squared? X. So what you're really doing is x squared over x equals x. So it goes in x times, not once. X. So x. Now, I'm going to multiply this x by those two terms. And when I multiply them, I need to place them in the correct column. We have an x squared, an x, and a constant column. So x times x is x squared, so I'm going to put it underneath the x squared. Okay? X times negative 10 is negative 10x. Everybody okay so far? Now what should I do? Subtract. So I draw a line and I change all of the signs. And the leading one should always disappear or you screwed it up. So this should go away and that should go away. Okay? What is negative 6x plus 10x? 4x. Now I bring down the negative 40. How many times does x go into 4x? 4 times. What times x is 4x? 4. So this is plus 4. Now I multiply. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 10 is negative 40. Draw the line, change the signs. Oops. That cancels, and it's remainder 0. So you multiply. it was negative 10, and then when I drew this, I turned it to a positive 10. Because I erased it. So if we have 5 goes into 27, 4, or 5, 5 times 5 is 25, and we have to subtract it. So if this was a negative 25, then I would change it to a positive. Because we're subtracting. So you calculate what the multiplication is, and then you subtract it. But sometimes when you subtract it, you actually make it positive. That's a good question. Okay. So let's do 2x plus 1 goes into 4x to the third minus 8x squared plus 3x minus 1. Now, what happens if there is not an x squared term? If it goes 3, 1, none, you have to put a 0x squared in there. Because it'll still probably have an x squared when you divide it. It just depends on the problem, but you never know. Okay. How many times does 2x go into 4x to the third? 2x squared. Does everybody see why it's 2x squared? You just divide them. What is 4 divided by 2? 2. What's x to the third over x? If I have 3 on top and 1 on bottom, these two cancel, and I have 2 left over. So 2x squared. Now I multiply, and the first one should cancel, so we should get 4x to the third. And then 2x squared and 1 makes 2x squared, and I put it underneath the x squareds. Now here's where I subtract. Oh, and I got to change this too. So this one cancels that one. Oops, that doesn't cancel. Sorry. Now, instead of just bringing down the next one, it's a good idea to bring down everything. So it was plus 2, but then I changed it to a negative, so negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10. How many times does 2x go into negative 10x squared? Negative 5x. So minus 5x. So negative 5x times 2x is negative 10x squared. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5x. Now what do I do? Subtract. First one cancels. 3 plus 5 is 8x minus 1. How many times does 2x go into 8x? 4. Jordan, do you get that? So 8 divided by 2 is 4. What about x over x? Cancels. So it's just 4. So 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times 1 is 4. Subtract. Those cancel, and I get my remainder is negative 5. How do I know that's my remainder? How many times does 2x go into negative 5? None. So that's where I stop. So it's 2x squared minus 5x plus 4 plus or minus 5 over 2x plus 1. You like that way? Good. So multiply it out, and then just flip the sign. So do the multiplication. So you're gonna multiply this and then multiply this and that, and whatever you write down, flip its sign, and then add. Okay, so let's look at Oops. So that's the problem I want to do. But I see an issue. It doesn't have an x squared or an x. Now, I could probably factor, but we're going to practice synthetic division. So 8x to the third plus 0x squared plus 0x. Oh, this was actually a bad idea, but whatever. Minus 27 plus, what was it? Minus 27? Okay. So, how many times does 2x go into 8x to the third? 4x squared. So now, multiply those. 4x squared times 2x is 8x to the third. And then 4x squared times negative 3. So negative 12x squared. Where do I put that? Under the 0x squared. So negative 12x squared. Cheyenne? Now what? Change the signs. So that cancels 12x squared plus 0x minus 27. How many times does 2x go into 12x squared? 6x. Jordan, do you understand why it's 6x? So, oops, not squared, just 6x. 6x times 2x is 12x squared. 6x times negative 3 is negative 18x. Change the signs. First one cancels. 18x minus 27. How many times does 2x go into 18x? 9 times. So 2x times 9 is 18x. 2x, or sorry, negative 3 times 9 is negative 27. Change the signs, and I get remainder 0. It was not. I thought wrong. So that one actually worked. Okay, well, you could have used synthetic division on this, except your root would have been 3/2. And multiplying by 3/2 is kind of a pain, but it still would have worked. What if we have something bigger? Okay. Oops. Let me see if I can do this in my head. I don't know. I'm just going to make it up. Okay. Do I need any placeholders? I need an x squared placeholder. So, could I use synthetic division on this one? No. Well, I could. I'd have to do it once with 3 and once with negative 3. Because what are the roots of this? Plus or minus 3, so I'd have to do it twice. And if the first one didn't work, then working on the second one, I don't even know how to do that. I guess I could probably figure it out, but I've never seen it done. Instead, we just do long division. So x squared minus 9, x to the 4th plus 3x. Oh my goodness. You guys wish you could do that, huh? I need a placeholder. But this one's a little bit tricky because when you put things in columns, you're going to have to skip a column. So how many times does x squared go into x to the 4th? X squared. Now I multiply, and I get x to the 4th. What do I get here? Negative 9x squared. You have to put it here. Because if I stuck it under the x to the third, those are not like terms, and I couldn't do anything. So I ended up, oh, nice. I ended up skipping a term. So change the signs. Those cancel. 3x squared plus 9x, oops, x to the third, plus 9x squared plus 5x minus 6. How many times does x squared go into 3x to the third? 3x times 3x times x squared is 3x to the third. 3x times negative 9 is negative 27x, and make sure you put that in the correct column. Change the signs. First one cancels. 9x squared, and this is going to get really nasty because I just made it up. Minus 20, no wait, was that a negative? So plus 32x minus 6. How many times does x squared go into 9x squared? Plus 9. So I get 9x squared. 9 times negative 9 is negative 80. Oops. Negative 81. Change the signs. So that's plus 81. So my remainder is 32x plus 75. And how do I know that's my remainder? Can x squared go into 32x? No, it doesn't have, or it has too many x's. So my remainder is plus 32x plus 70, what do we say, 75? Over x squared minus 9. Good. The nice thing about your assignment is it never goes into x squareds. They're all x to the firsts. So you could actually do the whole assignment using synthetic division, but practice long division because we're going to need it later. Okay? So your assignment is page 46. So it's 15 problems, and you're just doing long division. So it's actually a pretty simple assignment. Good luck.